Hi, it's Jim Grillo, CMP with HeresChicago.com. We have another episode of 20 Minutes in 2020. Happens to be a Saturday, a beautiful looking Saturday here in Illinois. And we have Patricia Bowman, CHE, FSP, CFSP, CFSE. And she's an associate professor for the Department for Food and Beverage Management, College of Hospitality Management, Johnson and Wales University. You've been doing this 17 years in the food and beverage industry, Pat. You've also been my cousin for how many years now?
A lot longer than 17 years, yeah. Yeah.
So Pat's actually my cousin, Pat, from Wisconsin, and you since have moved to?
I live in East Providence, Rhode Island. I'm part of the main campus at Johnson & Wales in Providence, down the road about 3 miles. And I've actually been with Johnson & Wales for 31 school years.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, people will ask me like, well, what does your cousin do? And I say, she is probably one of the most decorated individuals in the food service industry. Am I doing pretty good at that?
I don't know about decorated. I'll take dedicated. I have some credentials and I have some awards and some recognitions behind me. Yeah.
And why don't you tell us some of those recognitions? Like, what do those? So mine is a CMP, but you've got all these. So tell us like what those actually mean.
Well, I actually have alphabet soup behind my name, as you read off. I have a master's degree. All of my professional development is in food safety education, food safety protocol, allergen protocol. I've been very helpful and instrumental for both National Restaurant Association and Chimera Solutions in writing some of their certification programs and exams. It's been my soapbox for probably since the early 80s, how important food safety and compliance is to the overall safety of the employee as well as the industry.
Well, even though you're my cousin and we haven't talked in so long, I am so honored that you had reached out and asked to be a part of this. I really appreciate it. I know everybody who's listening to this will also appreciate it because, food safety, I thought, well, wait a second. In today's world, food safety is huge. I just got a shipment from Mariano's. We ordered on Tuesday. The order came in on the following Monday, and we did curbside pickup.
Right.
And at the store, like she had gloves on bringing it out, but the social distancing was still there. Not there. It was like 2 feet away,
Right.
and no mask. But you can't find any masks, so I don't fault them about that. But when
Right.
you get it home, when we get it home, as a community, we go ahead and we wash it or we put vinegar or something on it. What are your thoughts on this whole food safety? The whole distribution through it, to the store. I know you deal a lot with restaurants too.
Right. Right. Well, first, I believe that gloves really do give people a false sense of security. Is that employee putting on those gloves when they get to work and then not changing them until they leave? So their hands are staying clear, but every single thing that they touch with those gloves on are now contaminated. So now this is not new to the COVID experience. This is every day. This goes way back to the invention and the use of the glove. The employee says, yes, but my hands are clean. The problem is that your gloves are not clean. Every single time you touch a wrong ingredient, every time you touch a dirty surface with those gloves on, your hands are now dirty and you're spreading contamination every single place you go. So in our current environment, and what we're seeing is people are wearing gloves at the grocery store. They'll buy the latex or the vinyl gloves. They'll wear them in the grocery store, handle, manipulate food and product, and still be wearing those same gloves in their car. But their hands are clean. Yes, your hands are clean, but now your car is contaminated. And I don't think that people are thinking that way. They're thinking, well, I've got this protection on. Yes, you do, but the instant you touch something, now you are contaminated.
Yeah, you're spreading
So,
germs. Yeah, I
yeah,
take them off immediately. I mean,
right,
before getting in
right.
the car, and then like I just took my motorcycle out and had the glove on for the gas to put inside of it,
Right.
and took that off. And I'm like, wait, I still have to get my credit card back. Oh, I gotta
Right.
zip code or whatever, you know. So
Right.
it's like the whole, you know, difference in the way we think now.
Right.
Like, I'm not used to that.
Right.
I think anybody is, unless
No.
we used to call you a germaphobe, you know, because
Yes.
we know germaphobes. You know,
Yes.
Howie Mandel, for crying out loud,
Yes.
he's
Right.
locked up in a bubble right now. You know,
Right. Right.
so
But the average person, Corona aside, the average person's body does what it needs to do to keep itself safe, and that's produce beneficial bacteria. So by our using sanitizer, we're in or overusing sanitizer, our bodies now will begin to not be able to create beneficial bacteria, and we're going to be sick all the time. So at the gas station and grocery stores, I understand protecting yourself, but at the same time, are you really over protecting yourself?
reminds
And
me. Go ahead. Go ahead.
you're creating an environment where, yes, I have gloves on, everything I touch is now contaminated with me, but I'm still fine. But how far is this going to go? Do I change gloves every single aisle, every single food item, every single time I go into a store? You know, that there aren't enough gloves on the planet.
Yeah, you know, it reminds me of, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off before, but there's a skit that George Carlin does about germs. And he said the exact same thing, but in a real funny way and a
Yeah.
little bit going, you know, south on it.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah,
It's the funniest thing I
yeah,
ever heard. You
yeah.
know, you gotta have germs, so this, you know, your body fights it off. So,
Yes,
you know,
yeah,
check it out if you haven't seen it.
yeah.
But, so what else should we be doing then? You know, what about when we get the food inside the house?
I think that it's perfectly acceptable in this world to wipe down cans, to wipe down boxes to ensure that they're clean. Um, I've heard people who want to wash their fruits and vegetables in an acid, like a apple cider vinegar or soap and water. Please don't wash your produce with soap and water. That's not a good thing, because your body can't digest that soap, and you're never going to get it off of that food. So I think there's so much information coming at us at once that one little piece, one little nugget, people just completely go overboard with. I would say don't do anything more than you've already been doing.
Do you think regular vinegar works too, or is it just apple cider vinegar?
No, no, no. Regular vinegar will work too, but if you have not ever done that before, like I'll be truthful. I'm not doing that.
Hmm.
I'm keeping my hot food hot and my cold food cold, and I'm minimizing my prep time, and I'm ensuring that my knives and cutting board and work surface are clean. I do happen to wear gloves when I'm processing raw chicken, but that's a tactical thing. I just don't like the way it feels.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm not doing anything different than I was before, other than wiping off my cans and my gallon of milk and my bottles and things. But that's more for a bacterial prevention than a viral prevention.
Got it.
Yeah.
So my thing is, you know, and again, you know, let me bring it back to the motorcycle thing. So if somebody sneezes in their car and it comes out their window and I'm behind them, that's
Yeah.
lingering in the air. So, you know, I wear a mask and so forth on a motorcycle right now.
Right.
if I'm at the store and I go to, the store and I see the kale and all the fresh fruits or vegetables there,
Right.
like what if somebody was there before me and sneezed and something got on the kale? So that's why I'm thinking, gotta wash it, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I've never been like this. Never.
Right. And the problem with never being like this is you are probably at more risk of salmonella, staphylococcus, your cold and flu, as you would be now saying, oh, COVID this, COVID that. So these other germs have been around for since we've been tracking things. And now I'm wondering why people are just taking notice now. Well, you're probably more at risk of raw chicken juice dripping on your produce in the same grocery cart. Why were you not concerned about that, 2 months ago?
Yeah. Well, they say something about those bags now too. Like if you could bring in your reusable bags, they won't allow them in the stores anymore because so those end up keeping germs from fruits and vegetables and whatever else.
Yeah, because they're a cloth-like material. So if they get wet and they stay wet, they're out in your car and they stay moist, that's an excellent breeding ground for bacterial growth. Not viral growth, but bacterial growth.
We stopped serving like plastic bags unless you pay for them in grocery stores.
Yeah.
And that's in Chicago. So, but now they won't let you bring in the reusable bags. So now everybody's like, wait, now we're going back to clogging up the oceans with all the plastic bags.
Right.
So it's got to be some kind of give and take there.
Right. Well, again, I think a little bit of information and people, lock onto that nugget, and that's the current nugget, is not bringing in a cloth bag and going back to the plastic. So where is that fine line?
What about maybe you can wash the bags, the reusables.
Are you going to wash your bags?
No.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Or I'm going to ask you, did you wash your bags? And you're going to say yes.
Well, so I like to shop at stores that give you the brown paper bags.
Right.
So, and then we use those for recycling. I know everybody does that. We all do that. So, but I know a lot of people like Aldi. Do you have Aldis out there?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So here, everybody brings in their own bags.
Right.
Recyclables. So it's like, okay, it's part of Aldi's, business model.
Right.
Right. So anything else that we should be aware of, on the food safety side, or do you have any tips for us at all with regard to that?
I would say just to continue to be as vigilant as you always ever were. And, if we're still in the social distancing through all of April and May and June, it will become more comfortable. We will get more used to it. I went to the grocery store yesterday and it's like Death Race 2000. You're zooming through the aisles and you're trying not to run into anybody. I probably didn't buy half of my list because I'm looking down the aisle. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a human. I don't want to run into the human. And you're dodging, bob and weaving the whole time. Do we really need to do that? What's it going to be like in June and July? Are we still going to be keeping people at that arm's length?
Right. Do they dive into any of your studies into, you got germs, but do they ever dive into the virus side of things?
Very little, because viruses need a living host. So they need to go from living host to living host, whereas bacterial, they don't need a living host. That bacteria just needs the specific conditions to grow, a protein source, water, time, temperature. They need an opportunity, where virally, and this is why we've gone to the degree of separation, the masks on, because you brought up the sneezing or the coughing, getting gas. That does spread. You know, when you sneeze, it doesn't go in one direction, it goes in all directions. Now, the good thing about being outside is there's so much air moving around
Yeah.
that the chances are pretty slim at a gas station, but not so much in a closed grocery store.
Yeah. Oh, really? So,
Yeah,
but in a closed grocery store, I mean, it can go aisles apart.
absolutely. It could go aisles. But if you sneeze outside, you know, at the gas station, the air current is going to pick it up, and it's going to be, you know, the minutia will be so small that their chances are pretty slim.
Yeah. Uh,
Whereas bacterial, um, again, you have a cold, you have streptococcus, you have a strep throat, let's say. Um, you're shedding strep for a long time. That strep can live longer than a virus can, because a virus does need that living host.
and a living host, you're talking about a human.
For now they're saying a human, but they tested, I think the tiger at the Cincinnati Zoo tested positive for COVID. I'm not sure of the zoo, but there was a tiger that has tested positive. Now, whether or not that animal can pass it on, they're saying no.
Hmm. Wow,
So
we're learning so many new things in this world, man.
yes.
Um, so, some of your certifications now. What were the awards that you won?
Um, there haven't been awards that are industry specific. They're more individual. Like I got Faculty of the Year, and I got Team Player of the Year. Those are more internal to Johnson & Wales. Probably my greatest achievement now, going on 2 years ago, is I did write a food service compliance management degree, where upon graduation, the person would be a compliance officer or manager for a restaurant or other food service industry.
Hmm.
And
So,
what,
go ahead.
and what their position would be. So you have the front of house manager who manages guests. You have the chef that manages the kitchen and production, but the compliance manager would ensure that everyone is up to date with their certifications, alcohol, allergen, food safety. They would do equipment checks. They would do maintenance protocol. They would do training for situations like this. They would write crisis plan. They would be the person that, right now, the chef does it, the manager does it, the owner does it, but do they do a good job? So this manager would be 100% responsible that I'm following the FDA food code, I'm following local regulations, I'm ensuring that people are wearing gloves, but they're changing them when they're supposed to, that they're using the right cutting board, that time and temperature is not being abused, all those types of things. So that degree is online at Johnson & Wales. It's still pretty small. I'm hoping, unfortunately, that this situation will boost up those numbers. This is a manager that our industry needs.
And I'm very proud that we are cousins because of what you do and how good you're at it. I see a lot of the opposite in the some food industries. Now, I'm not talking about like the nice places and all the great places downtown and so forth, but if you head out to some of the neighborhoods, or if you get to even an area by my house, I mean, there's a place where they don't even use gloves when they cook the food. They use the same cutting board, and they'll throw chicken on there, and then they'll throw lettuce on there. You know, yeah, that's good. So, so I know a little bit about this, but only because I know it's not right to like have your hands all over somebody else's food.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And you mentioned the fine dining restaurants. Just because you're a fine dining restaurant does not mean you're following the rules.
So
That's all I'm saying.
yeah. And you
Yeah.
know that you've seen it probably, right?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
so I'm wondering, like at this time, if we come out on the other side of this thing where restaurants will be opening soon and whatnot, I am wondering, would people with your skill set uh, be in demand for you to go and make sure that their kitchen is spotless?
I hope so. I hope so. And when all this started a month or 6 weeks ago, however long that was, um, my thought was, don't lay off your employees right away. Here's a great time, literally, to wash everything from floor to ceiling, walls, um, vent grates, underneath the tables, the backs of booths, underneath the tables in the kitchen. Pull out the walk-in and clean literally everything. Dry storage, clean everything. The freezer. When was the last time that those companies pulled everything out of the freezer and thawed their freezer? This was a great opportunity for them to keep employees working for a while and literally gutting the place and cleaning and sanitizing everything. And then you put it all back so that we're ready to go when this thing goes away.
I would hope though that, so as you may know too, restaurants have very slight small margins, right? So
Yes.
I would hope though that if somebody's listening to this and they do have a restaurant, they're already smart enough to have that being done, coming out of it on the end side. Um, you know, but there are, like there's tough I mean, the city checks in on all of these places. So I don't know how that works or anything because I don't own a restaurant, but I
Right.
know they do the checkups,
Right.
and I don't know how often it is, but I do know there's a lot of spotless kitchens once that happens. So, but I just don't know how often it happens.
Right. Well, the
So
unfortunate part about that is, why do we have to wait to be told? Why do we have to wait until we get caught? Why isn't this part of our daily operating procedures from day one, so that when the health inspection comes in, and they're going to come in, that they have nothing to find? Why let them show me? I should be showing them. Here's how great my property is. Here's how clean it is. Let's look into the nooks and crannies. Let's open up the doors. Let's look underneath. Let's look behind. But until this happened, operations, like you said, very small margins. I'm focused on getting guests in and out so I can make money.
yeah, I get it. And I've worked in restaurants in the kitchen. I've
Yeah.
worked in the back of the house and in the front of the house. We always had our cleaning duties. And
Right.
at the end of the day, I had to scrub the stove down. I had to scrub
Right.
everything. Like, I mean, it took me probably an hour to get everything done. So I think a lot
Right.
of that is happening. I don't know what percentage maybe you're referring to that does not happen, but I think this is a good reminder for somebody who just opened a restaurant. Just don't shut the lights off when you're done,
Right.
clean it and everything else, and make it ready for the next morning.
Right. Right. And now I know that you remember back in the day with my mom and dad in Circle Lily
Yeah.
and that whole summer. That was a great summer, by the way.
Yep, yep. And
And
I learned a
good
lot
times.
from your dad.
What's that?
I learned a lot from your mom and dad.
Yeah. And they were meticulous that everything got broken down, everything got cleaned out, and they were very good about it.
Yep.
That being said, though, that's not the norm, unfortunately. People are still focused on, I got to get the guests in, I got to get them out, and cleaning will come. I'm going to assign you these duties, and just because I assign them, what ensures that you're doing it? Who's the follow-up? Where is it coming that I'm going to hold Jim responsible to clean that stove? And what if he doesn't do it? I'm not going to fire you. I need you. So where's the circumstance? Where is the checks and balances? This compliance person would be that checks and balances. So at the end of the night, I have a checklist for all the employees, and I'm going through and I'm checking off, not that you've done it, but how well you've done it. Because there are degrees now. You worked in the back of the house, so have I, from years and years, and you know you did your job, but you also know the people that didn't do their job.
Yeah. Well, I got my start in the industry from your mom and dad working at the
Yeah,
Circle Lily,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that was a great couple of weeks up there, I'll tell you.
Crazy times.
Listening to Meatloaf and making those tombstone pizzas in the oven.
Yep, yep, yep.
Well, I think we
Good
probably
times.
extended our time, but just let me say thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely. Anytime. If you want to do a second one, just let me know. There's a lot to say. There's a lot to, the industry is wide and vast. And there's a lot of good people out there doing what they need to do. But unfortunately, there's a whole lot more that are not.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to put your information. I got your bio on
Okay.
HeresChicago.com. I'm going to put this video on there. But
Okay.
if somebody wanted to contact you, can we give them your social networking, your email, or
Yeah, absolutely.
good?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Cool.
If you're in the restaurant industry and you need any advice or guidance, please feel free to contact my cousin, Patricia Bowman. All right, so we're going to go ahead and sign off on this 20 minutes in 2020. Thanks again, Pat, for being here.
All right, Jim. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye.